Hey, everybody. Welcome to Santa Barbara Talks with Josh Molina. This is a bit of a bonus episode. Every now and then, I like to talk a little bit about the journalism process. And this episode is going to be sort of geared toward public relations people, public officials, city officials, people who respond directly to the media. And I'll talk about that in a second. But I wanted to also do a little short preview coming up next week. Monday, we're going to have Santa Barbara City Councilwoman Meagan Harmon, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be so cool. She's going to talk about her Coastal Commission appointment. She's going to talk about her reelection campaign, her time on the council so far, and what it's been like, and all the highs, all the lows. We're gonna, dive deep into, all the issues, the things people talk about, things people ask, things people wonder, everything related to her and, her goals, her political goals, her ambitions, her successes, her advocacy. We're going to talk about all of it. We're also going to talk about some, personal things that, she's going to want to share as well, some personal things in her life. So it's going to be a very robust conversation, well-rounded, and just really interesting and compelling. So that's coming on the next edition of Santa Barbara Talks, which will be out Sunday night and Monday morning. Okay, so let's look forward to that. I want to talk to you a little bit about deadlines and public relations people and anyone who responds to the media, because one of the questions I get all the time is, what is your deadline? Okay, I hate this question. I hate it. I do not like this question. And public relations specialists, PR people, whoever is sort of the front line of dealing with the media, they will ask this. And, I've taught PR classes before. And so, I've, not actually taught a full length, but I've substituted in PR classes. And so I have, a little bit of I've dabbled a little bit in sort of public relations, and obviously taken public relations classes and dealt with PR people over the years. But this is a question you don't want to ask. Okay, so I'm going to tell you why. You don't want to ask the reporter, what is your deadline? Because the answer is always right now. Okay, right now, yesterday, an hour ago. Okay, I think that public relations people know that journalists are running 24/7, nonstop. Okay, they're journalists for a reason. Okay, they like to tell stories, and stories need to be told in a way that is not necessarily linear. Okay, so when reporters are out trying to gather facts and information and doing interviews, it's a process, and it's a lot of times it's jumbled. You might have a great interview on a Monday and then nothing until a Thursday. You might have 6 interviews on Monday and Tuesday, okay, and then nothing for a week, and you're like, what am I going to do now? And should I just publish a story? Should I wait? It's an art. It's a process. So when a journalist is reaching out to a public relations person, it's to get information, right? It's to set up an interview with somebody within the organization. It's to maybe get some facts or some data, some background, some context. And the worst question you can ask is, what is your deadline? Because the true answer is, I don't know when the deadline is. The deadline is right now, because the deadline depends on what your information is. Deadline depends on what you're going to say. If you're not going to say anything at all, okay, then I'm going to have to find that information elsewhere. If you're going to give me a bland, generic sort of PR statement, okay, then that's not helpful. So I'm going to have to look to find facts somewhere else. Okay, if you're going to give me something super compelling and interesting and important and essential to the story, well, that's going to mean I'm going to have to ask other questions. That means that I'm going to want to go do more reporting based on that, or I'm going to come back at you with more questions. It might open up a whole new angle to the story. Okay, so there's no way to answer that question, what is your deadline? Now, I think a lot of times PR people, elected officials, whoever's front facing, to the media, I think what they mean is, what is your deadline to turn in your story? Okay, and that's an entirely different conversation too, because honestly, it's not really any of your business when the deadline is to turn in the story. Okay, internally, obviously, reporters have deadlines, right? And depending on your organization, it's early in the week, it's late in the week, it's early in the day, late in the day. But the point is, if let's say hypothetically, the deadline to turn in my story is 5 o'clock to my editor, 5 p.m. Okay, I'm not going to tell you 5 p.m. because what if you give me information that requires me to do additional reporting? And also, everybody talks about, oh, bias in the media. Oh, they already know where the story is going. Like, we don't have the stories shelled out. So, oh, it's quote from PR person goes in third paragraph. They can call me at 4:59 and I could just plug it in. That's not a thing. That doesn't happen. That's not real. You can't craft the story until you have all your facts and all your details and all your information. So if you ask me, what is your deadline? The first thing I'm thinking is, what do you care? My deadline to my editor is between me and my editor. It's not a public thing. And if you want to know like what time you need to get this information to me at the latest possible minute for my personal deadline, okay, it's right now. It's yesterday, because journalism is an art. I need to be able to craft the story based off of what you say, what the PR person says. And I can't craft anything if you send it to me the same time it's due to my story, due to my editor. So it's really important that public relations people, and this comes up constantly, this has come up for 20 years in journalism, and they think they're being helpful. You all think you're being helpful. It's great. You are helpful. You do come through a lot of the times with, essential information, and it's absolutely, great. And that's a vital role that public relations people play, and it's good. But you can't expect to turn in something to the reporter a minute before their deadline and not expect them to have questions. It's going to require you to do additional work after that fact. Okay, it's just not going to happen. Can you imagine if you asked your partner or your friend or your colleague or whomever, how was your day today? And that person responded to you, what's your deadline to get back to you on that? You'd be like, what are you talking about? Right? Or, in your household, hey, what do you want to make for dinner tonight? What's your deadline on that? I'll get back to you. Okay. It doesn't make any sense, right? Because your deadline is not some theoretical thing far away where you can just make it up. Okay. Your deadline is, in order to achieve this goal, I need this information as soon as possible right now. Okay. And I realize you may not have it right now. That obviously I understand that you can't expect to be just having and reading the journalist's mind all the time. But the point is, journalism is a dialogue. It's a conversation. It's back and forth. Okay, it's not a go send me 3 bullet points and then I'll plug them into the story at 5:30. Okay, that's not how it works. Public relations people, it's a conversation. It's, hey, I'm working on this. I don't have all the facts, but a couple questions I have are these, and I'm trying to sort it out. And I think that you may be helpful to that so that I can get the most accurate, truthful story out there to the public. I don't have all the answers, so I'm being honest with you and I'm being upfront and I'm sharing this with you. So maybe we can work together in this conversation and this dialogue, okay? That's how it should work, okay? So then the response should be, all right, I'm going to try to find those answers and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, okay? As soon as possible, okay? I'm not going to stretch it out. I'm not going to wait, PR tactic a lot of times if the issue is controversial, just wait it out and hope it goes away. Or if we give this to them at the last possible minute, they'll have no choice but to just plug it in and the story is not layered, okay? Don't do that. Right? That's not helpful to anybody. It's just going to annoy the journalist, and then you're going to end up getting 2, 3, 4 stories out of it because we're going to have to come back the next day. So just remember that journalists love PR people because they play a very important role, and all journalists have been in a situation where no one can help them. They can't get a certain detail or a fact, and a helpful PR person is like gold. You're like, oh my goodness, this is so great. Thank you for helping me here. This is really going to be a key piece of information or statistic or data for this story. So thank you very much. But when we get into the situation where we're trying to sort of micromanage the journalist's process, that's not helpful. And ultimately, you're going to end up getting the worst outcome, because if you wait and you give something to the reporter after their deadline or right on deadline, whatever time they told you, there's no time for process. There's no time to analyze. There's no time to write. There's no time to create. Journalism is art. Okay, it's not a science. Like there's storytelling involved. There's reporting. 100 journalists, 100 different stories going to come out of it, depending on that person's approach. Okay, so it's really important. Don't ask when your deadline is. At least, I guess I shouldn't speak for every journalist on the planet. I'm speaking for myself, but I know that a lot of other journalists feel the same way I do. Don't ask what your deadline is, because I'm going to tell you a deadline of like an hour from now. And you're gonna be like, an hour from now? Why didn't you call me yesterday? And then it's like this loop. I'm like, okay, I don't understand. It's a conversation. Okay, it's not I'm doing something mechanically here and you're doing something mechanically here. It's a free-flowing exchange of information when it works. Okay, so I just wanted to sort of just talk directly to PR people and even elected officials or their staff, anyone who deals with the media. Deadlines are conversations. These are important stories to be told, and they can't be told in increments. They have to be told in free flowing. So next time a reporter calls you, the deadline is right now, as soon as possible. We understand that it takes time to get information. Okay, but it's a conversation. It's back and forth. It's like planning dinner. Okay, if dinner's at 6, you don't say, okay, at 6 o'clock, we're going to have dinner magically appear. Okay, no, between 3 and 6, you're talking about what you're going to have, or you're planning for it, or you're sharing the roles or responsibilities or whatever. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. And so I just thought I would share that a little bit, like straight talk from a reporter who deals with it constantly all the time. And that's about it. And remember, coming up, Meagan Harmon, next episode, Sunday night, Monday morning. It's going to be a barn burner, a blockbuster. I'm going to enjoy it. I hope all of you too will. Talk to you then.